Another video that concerns osteology introduction. Today we will finish the axial skeleton by the vertebral column. In the last video we discussed the thoracic cage, which is located anteriorly, and today we will discuss the vertebral column, which is located posteriorly. And so the content will be, we will discuss the definition of the column, the curvatures, different curvatures of this vertebral column, and then we will see the structure and the components of a typical vertebra. And also we see the differences between different kinds of vertebra, I mean cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, and coccyx. And also we see the components of the antivertebral disc. And lastly, we see the ligaments that join the vertebra together, or the ligaments of the vertebra. And so let's start by the definition before we see here. Let's see, this is the 3D model of the skeletal system as always. Here, this is posteriorly, we have the vertebral column. As you see, it is a sequence of many vertebra, a series of many vertebra. It is composed of 33 vertebra. So we can conclude that the vertebral column, it is located at the back of the body, and it is a sequence of 33 vertebra. And so let's return. We have here we have a definition. The vertebral column is also called the spine, or the spinal column, because the spinal cord passes here from it is the vertebral column, it is the enclosure of the spinal cord, okay? The spinal cord passes inside this vertebral column. It is a sequence, as we said, of 33 vertebrae united by an antivertebral disc. Each two vertebrae are united by an antivertebral disc. And it is flexible column. Flexible means that it is capable of many movements. For example, the rotation. We can't rotate our heads and neck and so without this vertebral column. So it is flexible. And we see from where this flexibility comes, okay? The flexible column that supports the head, the neck, and the body, okay? They are... Here we have the spine supports the head, neck, and body and allows for their movements. We can't move our body without this column, okay? Also, the column was originally a series of 33 vertebrae. If we return here in this picture, here, as you see here, this is the cervical region. The cervical region contains the cervical vertebra, okay? The name of the vertebra are according to their region. The cervical region are, in the cervical region we find the cervical vertebra. The cervical region is consisting of 7 vertebra, okay? We see them in more details. We have 7 vertebra here in the cervical region. We have 12 thoracic vertebra in the thoracic region. We have 5 lumbar vertebra in the lumbar region. The sacral region, or the sacrum, is consisting of 5 vertebra. The coccyx is consisting of 4 vertebra, okay? But after, at the age of 20, the sacrum, the vertebra of the sacrum fuse together, okay? They form one bone, the sacrum, and the vertebra of the coccyx also fuse together and form one bone, is called the coccyx. So the vertebral column was a series of sequence of 33 and then became a sequence of 24, okay? So it was originally a sequence of 33. This number reduced to 24 plus the sacrum and coccyx. We have 5 regions, as we said. We have firstly the cervical, thoracic, lumbar, the sacrum, and coccyx, okay? The vertebrae in each area are named for that region and numbered in descending order. What does that mean? If we here in this model we have this is the vertebral column, as always. We have here for this cervical region. For the cervical region, here we have 7 vertebra, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the cervical region. This is the C1. The cervical vertebra of the cervical region are named C, okay? C. The C1 here, we have C1 because it's the first cervical vertebra. We have the C2, C3, C4, and so in descending order until C7. Okay, if we moved in this thoracic region here, we have 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have here 12 thoracic vertebra. The thoracic also are named from T1, this is the T1, then T2, then T3, until descending order, until T12, okay? And the same thing in the lumbar, L1, L2, until L5, okay? So now, let's return. Okay, here. So we said that they are numbered in descending order. The different regions also are shown in this image. We have the cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacrum, and coccyx. Okay. So we have 24 from C1 to C7, T1, T12, L1 to L5. The sacrococcygeal curve, which is consisting of the sacrum and the coccyx. Okay. So this is another diagram that shows the different regions: cervical, thoracic, lumbar, and sacrococcygeal curve, sacrum and coccyx. Okay. So also there is another note that says that all mammals have 7 cervical vertebrae. When we see, for example, the giraffe, this note is for the giraffe, this animal. The giraffe, when we see its neck is so long, but it also has 7 cervical vertebrae. Like all mammals, it has 7 cervical vertebrae, but the cervical vertebrae of the giraffe are too long according to the humans. Okay. So this is a note, small note. So now let's see the function of the vertebral column. Its main function is the protection of the spinal cord, because we said that the spinal cord passes through this vertebral column, so it's for the protection of the spinal cord. Also the support of the spinal cord internally, and the support of the head and the neck, also for the whole body. Okay, it supports our body and allows for its movements. Okay, and also it forms the axis, the posterior axis of the body. Now let's move to see the curvatures. The vertebral column, it's not straight. Okay, it is curved. When we see here, it may appear straight, but it is not. When we see in the lateral view, it is curved. Okay, it's like that. It's not like that. Okay, so here it is for the curvatures, their role is that they increase the vertebral column's strength, flexibility, and the ability to absorb shocks. Without these curvatures, if the vertebral column was straight, the body can't absorb the different shocks, because we are facing many shocks in our life. So the body can absorb these shocks by the curvatures of the vertebral column. Also, the curvatures is what allows us to move. Okay, the flexibility of the column is formed by these curvatures. Okay, and also we have for the curvatures, curvatures are shown here. Okay, we have this, and this. If we return here, we have 2 kinds of curvatures: the primary and the secondary curvatures. These kinds are according to the origin. For example, the primary curvatures for the original fetal curvature. Okay, they are formed before birth, but the secondary are formed after birth, when we start standing and moving. So we have the formation of the secondary curvatures. If we see them here, we have the primary curvatures are the thoracic and the sacrococcygeal are like that. The embryo in the uterus was like that, so the thoracic and the sacral take the same form. For the secondary curvatures are the cervical and the lumbar. The secondary curvatures are in an opposite direction. Okay, not like the primary, and they are the cervical and lumbar. Okay. For the abnormalities, the spinal column is facing many abnormalities. Let's see them in this picture here before seeing the definitions. We have here, this is the normal curvatures, the normal shape of the thoracic, the vertebral column. But for the first case, this is the scoliosis. The scoliosis is an excessive curvature of all the spinal cord. All the spinal cord is curved excessively laterally, okay? For the kyphosis here, only the thoracic region is curved excessively, okay? For the lordosis now, only the lumbar region is curved excessively, okay? So let's see the definitions. We have the kyphosis is an excessive thoracic curvature of the thoracic region. For the scoliosis, this is the excessive lateral curvature of all the spinal column, okay, all the vertebral column. And lastly, we have the lordosis, which is an excessive anterior curvature of the lumbar, only the lumbar region, okay, as we said here. Scoliosis, also we have kyphosis and lordosis. Now let's move to see the structure of a typical vertebra. We take one vertebra because vertebra vary in shape, okay, in their shape. The vertebra are so varied, but the typical vertebra, they are all have the similar structural pattern, okay? They have all have a body, vertebral arc, and 7 processes. But to better see these structures, we take a typical vertebra. Typical, for example, the thoracic is typical, okay? Let's see the different structures of the vertebra here in this image. As you see, the vertebra is consisting of body. We have the arc, the vertebral arc, and we have 7 processes. To see them better, we have the body from anterior. This is the anterior and posterior. The body is located the most anteriorly, okay? This is the body. The body is located anteriorly. Posterior to the body, we have the vertebral arc. The vertebral arc is consisting of the lamina, the pedicle. Let's start the pedicle. It's what forms the posterior side of the body, and the lamina, it's what forms the roof of the vertebral arc. This is the vertebral arc, okay? And lastly, let's see the processes. We have 7 processes. From the vertebral arc projects a process. This is called the transverse process. We have two transverse, one left and one right, okay? Also, we have from the body of the vertebra, projects a spinous process. Spinous process projects posteriorly, okay? We have only one. The spinous process, it's when we touch our back, we can feel a structure. This structure is called the spinous process, okay? Spinous processes of all vertebrae. And also what we have 2 transverse, 1 spinous process. We have also articular processes. We have superior. This is the superior articular processes. We have 2, and the inferior are not shown here, but the inferior articular processes also we have 2. We have 2 superior articular processes and 2 inferior articular processes, okay? So what we said here, let's see them. We have after this for the inferior articular processes are here, okay? Let's see. This is the superior. The facets of the superior are located here, but for the inferior are located here, okay? So now let's see, we have an opening between, let's see also here, we have an opening between the body and the arc. We have an opening. Let's see it. This opening is called the vertebral foramen. The vertebral foramen are for the passage of the spinal cord, okay? This is also the vertebral foramen for the passage of the spinal cord. And a large opening between the vertebral arc and body, it is the vertebral foramen. The antervertebral foramen, we have the vertebral foramen, and the antivertebral foramen, it is notches in the margin of pedicles. Okay, let's see here. This is the pedicle. We discussed the pedicle here. At the margin of the pedicles, here and here, we have a foramen, antervertebral foramen, because it's located between two vertebrae. This antervertebral foramen is for the passage of the spinal nerve, okay, spinal nerve, I'm sorry, for opening through which a spinal nerve exits from the vertebral column, okay. And lastly, we discuss the processes. We have 7 processes: paired transverse, one spinous process can easily be felt, as I said, a series of bumps just under the skin down the middle of the back. We have 2 superior articular and 2 inferior articular processes. So we have 7. Now let's see the differences between the different vertebra. The vertebra differ in some structures, okay. For example, let's start by the cervical. Before, let's see it here. When we take one typical cervical, here this is the C3. When we see it, this cervical vertebra, as you see here, it has a bifid spinous process, okay, bifid, not like other vertebra, it is bifid, okay, as you see. Also, what we have in the transverse processes, we have a transverse foramen, okay, this transverse foramen through which the vertebral arteries pass through. And lastly, we have, this is the vertebral foramen is triangular, okay, in shape. The vertebral foramen is triangular, okay. So let's return. We have this bifid spinous process here. We have transverse foramen for the passage of the vertebral arteries. And lastly, we have triangular vertebral foramen. It is triangular in shape. Now let's move to the thoracic vertebra. We have 12. Thoracic vertebra is what what form the thoracic cage, okay. We said that thoracic cage is formed by the ribs, the 12 ribs, and the 12 thoracic vertebra. They are medium-sized. Medium-sized means that they increase, their size increase from superior to inferior, okay. And also what we have each thoracic vertebra has 2 demifacets here. For the joints, we said in the previous video that the head is joining with the demifacets of the vertebra, thoracic vertebra. The head of the rib is joining with the facets of the vertebra. The costal facet here, as you see, the costal facet on the transverse process is for the joints with the body or the shaft of the rib, okay. It has a circular vertebral foramen, okay. Now let's move lastly to the lumbar vertebra, the largest in the vertebral column. The lumbar vertebra, when we say all the vertebrae starting from the cervical to the lumbar, all increase in size from superior to inferior, okay. So the lumbar are the largest in the vertebral column. They are structurally specialized to support the weight of the torso, the inferior limb, okay. The size of the vertebra increase with the increasing of the limbs, okay. They are large and kidney shaped vertebral foramen or vertebral large and kidney shaped vertebral body, and it lacks the characteristic features of other vertebra. Here they don't have the transverse foramen, and also the spinous process is so little. According to the previous vertebra, the spinous process is so short or so decreased, okay. And so now let's see the sacrum and coccyx. The sacrum is a single bone in adult skeleton that it is formed by the fusion of 5 smaller vertebrae. We said that during adolescence, and the sacrum is a flat, okay, triangular bone found in the lower back and wedged between 2 hip bones. Here, when we see in the model, as always. In this model, this is the sacrum, triangular as always. Between, this is the hip bone, okay. This is the sacrum, and the hip bones are the ilium, the 2 ilium, okay. We have the sacrum is between these 2 hip bones, and it is triangular in shape, okay. So let's return. It is triangular in shape. And lastly, the coccyx. The coccyx is a single bone in the endoskeleton that is formed by the fusion of 4 tiny vertebrae during adolescence, as always. It is the tailbone, the tail, okay? And in humans, the coccyx bears our body weight when sitting down and provides attachment points for the muscles of the pelvic and gluteal regions. This is the coccyx, okay? This is attachments for many muscles of the inferior region. And now let's see the intervertebral disc. The intervertebral disc is the disc that joins or anchors the two vertebrae, each two vertebrae. It is a fibrocartilaginous in structure, part that fills the gap between two adjacent vertebra. This is vertebra. Provide padding between vertebra during weight bearing. Okay, they make when we bear some weight, the vertebra increase in size, and this increase in size is provided by this intervertebral disc. Thin in cervical region and thick in the lumbar region. Its thickest increase from the cervical to the lumbar region. To see its components, as you see, we have two components. We have the nucleus pulposus and the annulus fibrosus. The annulus fibrosus is came from the ring, okay, a circle. The annulus fibrosus is thinner and the nucleus, the annulus fibrosus is thicker in size and the nucleus pulposus is thicker inside, okay, in size, okay. The annulus is thicker and the nucleus pulposus is thinner and softer, okay. So the annulus fibrosus is made of tough or thick fibrocartilage that binds the vertebra together, but it is flexible enough to allow for our movements. It is tough but flexible. The inner nucleus pulposus acts as a shock absorber, okay. The softer portion is a shock absorber to support the body's weight and prevent the vertebra from painfully crashing into each other while under strain when we bear some weight, okay. So now lastly let's see the ligaments of the vertebral column. The vertebrae are united by ligaments, okay. They are not free, they are united, and these ligaments run the length of the column. For the ligaments we have external and internal. Let's see in the picture. We have for the external, we have the anterior longitudinal here. This is the anterior longitudinal that runs anteriorly. We have also, let's see them here. We have the anterior longitudinal and we have the supraspinous and nuchal. The nuchal is it's a projection of the supraspinous, okay. When we see here, we have, this is the supraspinous. It is posteriorly. We are in the external side, okay. We have external ligaments and internal. We have also we have the nuchal that it is not shown here, but we have the anterior longitudinal and the supraspinous. The nuchal is a projection, okay, to the neck. For the internal, there is also the ligaments located inside the vertebral canal near to the spinal cord. We have the posterior longitudinal and the ligament flavum. Let's see them here. We have, this is the ligament flavum located internal and the posterior longitudinal ligaments, okay.